This is Trophy Dark, The Forbidden Archives, Part 1. Um, this will be a different video playlist, so let's go ahead and just introduce ourselves. When I call on you, please say your name, your pronouns, and anything else you would like for people to know about you. I'll start. My name is Jason. I use he, him. They is also fine. I am the co-publisher of Trophy Dark, along with its creator, Jesse Ross, and I'm very excited to run this for you all. Alicia.
Hi, I'm Alicia. I use she, her, or they, them pronouns. And I don't know. I like Trophy. Been playing for a bit. I wrote a Trophy Dark incursion. It's called Allura. It's space and robot themed. You should play that. Space is cool. Yeah, I'm excited for this.
Awesome. I'll link it in the show notes. David.
Hi, yeah, I'm David. I use he, him, and they, them pronouns, although any are fine. And I really like Trophy. We were just talking about it earlier, leading up to this, and I'm really excited to play some more Trophy Dark. I haven't heard of this incursion before, so this will be cool.
Fabulous. Now, normally what I would do is I would go through my CATS procedure, but the three of us have played together a lot. And so if you're watching this video wondering how to introduce the game to people who have maybe never played before, I'm going to recommend you go look at any of the other videos in this playlist where I do go through the CATS at the beginning of them. In the interest of time, this particular game, we're not going to be doing that. I will say, though, that just as a reminder, that Trophy Dark is a horror fantasy game with an emphasis on the horror, and it is a game where the characters are going to be very changed, possibly dead by the end, and so we embrace what we call the play to lose ethos in Trophy Dark. So lean into that, give us the best story you can once it looks like your character is about to be done for, and so we'll be playing for 2 weeks. And so we will do character creation and then rings 1 and 2 today. And then the next time we meet, we'll be playing rings 3, 4, and 5. Let's go ahead and pause the recording while we make characters. Okay, let's go ahead and meet our characters, who I will note have the same drive, which we're going to talk about when we get to that part. But let's go ahead and start with David and your character, Nima. Just give us the basics.
Yeah. So Nima uses she, her pronouns. Her occupation is demonologist. So she has skills in demons, negotiation, trickery. And then her background is as a cursed beast bitten. So she also has transformation as a skill.
I want to know it's cured beast bitten.
Cured beast bitten. Sorry. Yes, cured beast bitten. So she has transformation as a skill, and I've leaned into that a little bit with as a ritual now. She has beast, so she can take a form halfway between human and animal. Now that her beast bitten is cured, and then also she has carve, so she can alter a creature or object via sorcerer subtraction, and hollow, she can push a spirit from a body. And then the drive, which both Cassian and I share, is earn the right to your family's name. And we pushed around a couple of ideas for what that could mean before this. I don't know, Alicia, if you agreed with the take I offered, or if you thought something else. Okay.
I have to actually pause really briefly. I'm so sorry. Hold on 1 second.
Go for it.
Okay, sorry about that. So we were talking about drives.
Yeah. So the drive that both Cassian, or how do you want to pronounce that, Alicia?
Yeah, I think Cassian is fine.
Cassian? Okay. So the drive that both Cassian and I share is earn the right to your family's name. And this is like a process of uncovering like the true name of the family. And by understanding the true name, that grants you the rights to be the next family head. And so both of us are competing for that right in the course of this.
I love it. Thank you. And Alicia, give us the basics of Cassian.
All right. So yes, I'm playing Cassian. She uses she, her pronouns. She is an artificer, with skills in alchemy, invention, traps, and also her background is an imprecise barber, which is a thing. Gives her a skill in injury as well. So again, sharing the drive, earn the right to the family's name. And I took the rituals clock and parse.
Fantastic. I love it. Let's just dive right in. I'm going to introduce the incursion here. We are playing the Forbidden Archives. The lost Azure archives of ancient Kaldur are the subject of much speculation. The mysterious keepers of the archives long ago locked away their secrets from the world outside. They say any knowledge can be found there, especially those writings deemed too blasphemous or revolutionary by various authorities. Grimoires of raw elemental power lie chained and sealed through techniques lost to all but the most practiced arcanists. Those who claim to have entered the archives report that the entrance is forever changing, opening only in places of power at particular moments in time. Entire cults have formed to seek those entrances, each with their own prophecies. Miraculously, the two of you have pieced together an exact time and place when one of the entrances will open. You have done terrible things to come by this information, but it is a small price to pay. If the rumors are true, the right tome or scroll could grant you a luxurious retirement, or clear you of a heavy debt, or perhaps give you some insight into your family's true name. And so, we begin with Ring 1, a miraculous entrance. Now, the two of you have learned of the precise place and time when an entrance to the Azure archives will open. But it's not a time like 2 p.m. on a Friday, right? It's a sequence of events that will cause the entrance to open. This is what you know. The entrance will be the back door of a famous pub in the village of Muckling, but only when a brutal gang massacre takes place behind the pub. Now, this pub is called the Red Pony, and you need for there to be a brutal gang massacre behind the pub so that you can go into the back door, which will lead you to the Forbidden Archives. So I think the two of you have been there for a time, trying to figure out how to orchestrate a gang massacre behind the pub in order to get the door to open up. And so I guess I would like to know, what plans have you been working on together? This might be the last time you work together in order to orchestrate this massacre. Like, what have you been doing? What is the plan here?
I kind of love the idea of starting off with competition already, although intentional, that maybe we've started two gangs of our own fully with the intention of setting them on each other by like kind of like talking shit about each other and things like that. So we like gathered these followers and now we're gonna like
I love it. It's grim, but I love it. Yeah, it's good. Nima, are you okay with that?
Yeah, I was just thinking. I think I've set up mine to be the ones to be massacred, because like a massacre means it's hugely one-sided, right? And so
Yeah, that's the way I'm interpreting it too. Like, it can't be just
Yeah.
like a like
Can't just be a brawl. It
A
has to be like
brawl,
these
yeah,
people are
yeah.
systemically executed, right? And I think the foundation work that Nima has been laying for that is she's been like having some of her immediate lieutenants, but all of them unaware of what the other ones are doing, like kidnap different people from the village, and like take their take their animals, take their children, take themselves, and like basically been stealing them and like putting them to work on some project for the on behalf of the gang, basically sowing like, this sentiment of like people are disappearing, creating that uncertainty, and then having some kind of linchpin that's like this, bit of this detail will reveal the whole operation, and then like, put the whole group in bad blood with everyone else.
I like it. I think it's really good. And so Cassian, you are in on the part where your gang is going to massacre that gang then, right?
Yeah, I feel like I have been sowing the seeds of discord amongst the other people, like definitely throwing shade on Nima's group and like, yeah, why are like what's up with them? Why are like these
Right.
these people disappearing? Like she's got them doing something very dark and she doesn't have your best interests at heart.
I love it. Yeah, I think this is probably a risk roll to see if this plan goes through. I'll let Nima be the die roller with the help from Cassian if it comes to it. And so the way this works is we've established the stakes. Basically, will this massacre go off so that the door will open up? Hopefully, whoever gave you this information is not being inscrutable or incorrect. And oh yes, we do need a die roller. I'll grab that real quick. And so Alicia and I get to say what we think could go wrong, Nima, if you fail the die roll. So Alicia, any thoughts?
I mean, it's starting from a dark place, but I think you could be caught up in the massacre.
Yeah, I was going to suggest that the massacre happens, but somewhere else. Like someone takes the initiative, some lieutenant of yours, and like the massacre takes place like in another part of the city, and therefore it's no good. Let's talk dice. Do you have a relevant skill here, Nima? Or what's it, skill or environment, I guess? Yeah, I can't remember.
You do have trickery as a skill. I feel like this is a very trickery dependent.
Yeah, trickery works for me. You got one light die. And now you can accept a devil's bargain to get your second light die. A devil's bargain is something that will happen in the fiction no matter what if you accept it. And either Alicia or myself get to make the offers. I'll let you go first, Alicia, if you have a thought.
I think that no matter what, a follower of yours is going to end up going through the portal.
I'm gonna second that, but say that it's your most like ambitious lieutenant. It also figures out what's up and goes in with you both.
I'll take that. I like that devil's bargain.
You got two light dice, and I don't think a dark die is automatic yet, since this is just kind of a plan. It's not inherently dangerous yet. So go ahead and roll 2 light.
Hey, that's a 6 high.
Nice. Let's go ahead and have this scene. So describe what it looks like when you've already kind of described how you're getting the plan in place, but I would like for both of you to describe like the gang showing up, what the massacre looks like, all that stuff.
I think how Nima has planned the location for the massacre is by having her gang that she's been assembling, almost a sort of cult. I think it's like a gang aspiring to be a cult, like that sort of situation. And they've been like, they have like a camp set up behind that pub. And it's where all their, where they stay, where they conduct their meetings and the like. And I think as part of like admission to the gang, Nima requires that any weapons and stuff you have be like given over to her and her lieutenants to like manage in like a safe place, which is to say that it'll leave them unarmed when the massacre happens. And I think Nima had like given the documents and evidence showcasing the gang's wrongdoing to Cassian to then like present to her gang and to the town, and like essentially to drum up the forces necessary to end this gang once and for all.
Nice. Cassian, what does the massacre look like?
So I think that we've got a classic angry mob situation, I feel like. And I feel like we've even pulled in people who weren't really part of my little gang cult, but like other people have like heard the word, mob mentality. We pick up some stragglers all along the way. We've got our torches and our pitchforks, and we're like storming through the town. And of course, there's no like weapons because lovely Nima has took them all. So I feel like I imagine that it's a little bit, even though you've set up camp, so it's large enough for that, it's kind of contained. So we've picked the location perfectly. There's only like one exit and entrance point. And so we like funnel in, preventing them from leaving. And I feel like I don't even have to do anything at that point in time. Just kind of like step back and watch as these people destroy each other violently.
The massacre is taking place. Nima, per your design, your gang is getting the worst of it. The blood is flowing in the streets of Muckling, and there is a door at the rear of the Red Pony waiting for the two of you to get into the Forbidden Archives. I am curious if you're going together, or is one of you going to try to get the jump on the other?
I think Nima like pauses to, like the people start dying, blood is being spilt. I think Nima has a like vial or maybe just like a bristly brush that she's like collected some of the blood with, and she, after collecting like enough of it, she kind of runs out of a back flap of one of the tents and heads over to the door. You said Cassian was sort of hanging back during this whole operation. Is Cassian already over there?
Yeah, I think like giving a sense of where the door is going to be, I would have been like kind of like slowly, just casually inching my way over there the whole time.
I think I want to start there then. Cassian, you're actually met first by Darius, who is Nima's second in command, very ambitious, disagreed with all this, what's been going on, and saw you slinking off. And he's there. And this might be a good chance for you to tell us, Cassian, like what do you look like?
Yeah, I look like, hold on, I don't even remember. I put a photo. Oh yes, I'm very like your stereotypical extra kind of like steampunk lady, basically. But very like almost Victorian looking. I mean, obviously that's the steampunk like genre. Everything's like tight and like rigid and prim and proper. But I have all of these kind of like gears and stuff that aren't just decorative. When you look closely, I think I've actually like inset them into my body. Whether they do something or not is yet to be determined, but I'm sort of like turning into half woman, half machine. Maybe not half, but like part woman, part machine on my way there.
I love it. Darius is, I think he's probably like a classic, like kind of wolfish rake type character. You know, goatee with a little, but like kind of a long beard with rings tied into it, and you know, colorful leather armor, that kind of thing, right? And he's holding out his stiletto when it comes around the corner, and he says, "What game are you and Nima playing?"
They look very serious, like a very angry librarian. Nima and I never play games.
Perhaps you could explain to me why Nima allowed our gang, the cockatrices, to be in such a vulnerable place. Why are they being slaughtered at this very moment? What was the reason for this very strange tactical decision? And what are you doing back here behind a pub in Muckling?
Well, I live here, of course. So it would be not uncommon to find me somewhere in Muckling. Why not here?
Why do you keep looking at that door? Planning on going? Do you live with the mop buckets?
Well, I'm more concerned about you having someone come bursting out of that door at me.
Oh, that's a good idea. Wish I'd thought of that. Nima, you will overhear the conversation before you come around the corner. What do you do?
Yeah, I think Nima strides up. She's wearing a long flowing like maroon skirt with a deep blue and gold sash. She's wearing like a velvet corset. And she has like, very long, almost wild hair, as opposed to Cassian's very tight, very managed appearance. Hers is a bit more raw. And she comes up, she has a brush laden with blood in her hand. And she rounds the corner, just sort of inserts herself into the conversation. We're here to fulfill the goal of the cockatrices, of course. It was necessary for their aims to be achieved, and she like goes over and sort of like pokes Darius in the nose. In order to be achieved, that they must die first. And she begins to like paint the edges of the doorway with this bloody brush.
He says, I think someone needs to explain to me exactly what's going on here.
I think Nima just like ignores him and completes the painting of the doorway, and then sort of like rubs her hands together and casts a quick glance at Cassian, and then goes for the doorknob and tests it.
It opens up.
Yeah. When she opens it up, does it look like it's leading into the pub, or does it look like it's leading somewhere else?
Initially, it looks like the pub until you hear the final scream of one of your dying gang member, a dying cockatrice, a final like blood-curdling scream as a knife sticks in their gullet, and then the passage changes.
So I think Nima will just gesture to it and then look back at Darius. Isn't it better to learn for yourself?
Yes. And he kind of steps up and says, where does this go?
Where the knowledge is. And it seems that you're in need of much of it.
And so I gather this was a little scheme between the two of you?
We don't deal in schemes. This was a calculated agreement.
Well,
but this is where it ends.
And he kind of like leans against the frame of the door and says, well, after the two of you.
Nima will just waltz right through. In fact, I think she hopes that it only takes one, and that the portal will close behind her. And is a little bit disappointed when she steps through and looks back and still sees the opening to the field behind.
Cassian, do you go in?
Yeah, I'm gonna go in. But I do not enjoy the disrespect of this sort of lieutenant of Nima's. And so as I walk by, even though I know that he's coming in anyways, I'm going to stab him as I walk past him. Also, because I think he might try to kill me anyways.
Stab him, like to injure him, to kill him? Like where's the stab happening?
I don't know if I care enough really to be that precise about it, but a general like gut stabbing situation.
Then let's just say, what's the goal then? What are you hoping to accomplish?
I think the goal is to make a point.
Let's do a risk roll. David, what could go wrong?
Gotta unmute first. I think he could see you going to stab him, and he could respond in kind before you're able to.
Yeah, I had a similar thought. Like, yeah, he just like doesn't just stab you, he disarms you. Yeah, well, we'll see how it goes. Let's talk dice. Do you have a relevant skill here?
Do I have a relevant skill? That's a good question. I'm going to make an argument for injury.
Okay, I'll take it. Like, you're not trying to kill him, you're trying to make a point.
Yeah.
I'll take that. You've got one light die. Devil's bargains. No matter what, no matter what, you're going to learn that Darius has an interest in your family as well.
Interesting.
I think an alternative. I think that no matter what, he's just gonna have it out for you once you're in there. Like, you personally, like, before it was like sort of more general against both of us, but I think his anger might be more towards you after this action.
Well, they're both good. I love having enemies, but I like the complication of he also has an interest in our family. So I'm going to take that one.
That's good. We should probably name this family at least the untrue name, so that we can refer to it. What do we suppose the false name is?
I am so terrible at names. So
I'm going to say the Bloodmoors.
Oh, Bloodmoor's great. Love that.
Yeah, it's very fantasy. We're doing kind of a very like high fantasy thing today. The Bloodmoors. And yeah, so you've got 2 light dice. I think a dark die is automatic because you're going straight for violence. So go ahead and roll 2-1. There's a 4 light, which means you succeed, but there is a complication. I think the complication is going to be the complication is he doesn't know about he did not previously know about your Bloodmoor connection. And so the complication, though, is you're all going to learn your mutual connections.
Okay.
If you want to add a dark die and try again for a 6, a full success will mean that only you know he has a connection to the Bloodmoors. He doesn't know anything about what the 2 of you are doing.
No, I'm gonna keep it. We're gonna have all this information out in the open and see
Good.
how that tension rackets up.
I like it. I'm gonna take the part of this narration, if you don't mind. You go to stab him, and it's not a like fatal stab. It's not even something he can't like patch up quickly. It's more just to send a message. And he kind of like, he's like, ah. He's like, and he sees that your blade didn't hit anything vital, and he knows that you did that intentionally. And he's like, point taken, Cassian, point taken. And that's when you both notice you are wearing Bloodmoor sigil rings. And he says, he kind of like grabs your hand and he says, where did you get this?
It came to me as it should have.
And then he looks over at you, Nima, and he sees that you have one too. And he's like, and now we're just doing a Spider-Man thing. We're all pointing at each other. And he says, you're going after the true name of the Bloodmoors, aren't you? That's what's going on here, isn't it?
I told you that we were after
you
the
intend
true name of the cockatrices.
To find the true name of the Bloodmoors, whatever this place is, in wherever this place is, and then lay claim to the estate. Oh, how the sisters have favored me today that I should have stumbled onto this plan. Well, it seems there are now 3 in the race.
Well, it's not going to be much of a contest if the 2 of you don't come in here.
And he goes in, and he strides forward, and he says, I don't know how or whether we are related to each other by blood or some other regrettable kinship. But I think, seeing as how I'm older, I shall take the lead. And he keeps going forward.
Older and more injured.
Yeah, I was just gonna lean over to Nima and be like, okay, but do you ever get tired of the men?
I find that they have their uses.
As cannon fodder.
He hollers back, remember when succession was determined by birth order and indeed your gender? Those were the days. Not gallivanting around trying to find some secret name.
I am starting to find this one a bit tiresome, though.
We should probably stab him again.
Well, I think he still has a purpose yet to serve for me, at least.
Oh yeah, they'll stab him at the right time.
Let's keep going. So we're in ring one. So you are in a sort of kind of a narrow, dark hallway. It's a very like indescript kind of place. Like the walls are quite featureless. There's no apparent ceiling. It's just inky blackness above you. But it eventually lets out into a small, like almost like little vestibule that presumably leads into the actual Forbidden Archives. And you encounter a guardian of the Azure Archives. It is a mannequin servant formed from pieces of antique furniture and ornamental armor. So it's kind of, its body is like a chaise lounge, and its head is like a kind of rusted, beaten helm with horns coming off of it. And it has a strange, like, coat rack arm, but then it has an arm that looks like a piece of armor arm. And yeah, and so it's just this fusion of armor pieces and furniture. Like one leg is like a side table, that kind of thing, connected to like a greave, and the thing challenges the three of you. Darius stops, and two of you can be right behind Darius. And the thing says, "Go back. There is nothing for you here. Go back from whence you came."
I'm gonna just like push up my glasses and peer at it and be like, oh my, you are intriguing. Who made you?
"Madam, my genesis is of no importance to you. I am here to guard the entrance to the Forbidden Archives. Now, turn around and egress immediately."
Is it magic or science? How do your limbs rotate like that?
"Madam, I shall show you by thrusting my limb at you in an aggressive manner that will cause you to turn around and leave immediately."
I'm starting to suspect that he doesn't want us here.
Darius says, "This is ridiculous. Are we really going to be waylaid by this conglomeration?"
Well, I'm certainly not. Neba kind of wants to stride up. I think she's assuming that this creature, since it's talking, she's assuming it's not an automaton. So she's, again, these are all assumptions. She's assuming that it's not just some clockwork creature, and that she's making the assumption that there's some kind of spirit possessing this.
Yeah, it's a mannequin. It's a known species in the world. They are
okay.
they are animate. They're robots basically, right?
Okay.
Like constructs. Yeah, you can certainly find whatever holds it together.
Yeah, so she kind of wants to use her hollow ritual and just push its spirit right out. Just kick it out.
While you're preparing that, Darius looks at you, Cassian, and says, "The Forbidden Archives. Well, what is that exactly? Kinswoman?"
I'm sorry, have you never read a book?
You know,
So an archive is a place where they gather knowledge and they keep it. And if it's forbidden, it means you're not allowed to go there.
well, excuse me for being from the streets. We didn't have many opportunities to read books where I came from. I was too busy trying to stay alive in the shit.
Yes, well, it's done a number on your personality, I can see.
He looks at you, Nima. What is the plan for dealing with this?
Yeah, she's like rummaging through some of her various
Turn
pouches.
back
She's
now.
like, collecting in her hand just a series of ingredients that she's like, for lack of a mortar and pestle, she's just sort of like crushing up in her palm. And she says, well, I'm going to eject it.
Darius says, well, I anxiously await this maneuver. Is this one of those maneuvers where you betray us and we get killed, like the cockatrices, or?
Only if you're allergic to lovely furniture.
Madam, whatever's in your hand, put it away immediately.
I think I shall, but not where you expect. And she walks forward, and I think she just tries to like force it underneath, like in some of the nooks and crannies in this construction. And she's going to try to turn him into a statue or something.
It's a risk roll. Alicia, what could go wrong here?
I think that instead of like turning it into a statue, you could kind of explode it and we could be sort of in the path of, bits of furniture and armor.
Yeah, I think that like it I think it could be as simple as it just becomes much more like aggressive. Instead of just warning you, it actually takes some action. Anyway, let's do some dice. Do you have a relevant skill here?
Let's see. Transformation, I could see.
Oh, yeah, I'll take it. Yeah, I'm into it. Devil's Bargains. I'll just turn this into a Return to Oz thing. No matter what, the Guardian follows you in.
Okay, so number one, that movie slaps. I love that movie.
It's so good.
And number two, now I'm just really like committed to we're just gonna collect all of these people along the way in our journey. My devil's bargain would be that this is somehow Darius gets like some advantage out of this in some way. So he's not just all talk anymore. I don't know what that would be though.
Oh yeah, that's interesting. I can figure it out if you choose that, Nima.
I like the idea that we just keep collecting people. That could be really fun.
You got 2 light dice, and you have to do a dark die because of hollow, so go for it.
All right. And this is a risk roll, right?
It is.
Oh, that's not great.
Ooh, it is a 2 light. That is a fail. I think this thing's going to go ham on you all if you don't add a dark die and try again.
Yeah, I will add a dark die and try again.
Okay, a 4 light. The complication here is going to be the thing follows you, but it's not friendly. It keeps wanting you to leave. So it's like an annoying docent trying to get you to stop touching things and please leave. Yeah. If you want it to be less annoying, you should add dark die and try again.
Why not? I think this is the highest I've ever gone with this sort of thing. Let's try it.
Hey,
Ooh.
6, yeah. So you have to stop.
Yeah.
It's 6 dark. Your ruin goes up, but you do get past the thing. What does this look like?
I think so. She has like this makeshift poultice in her hand, in her clenched fist, and she waltzes up to him as he's like announcing for them to leave immediately, and she just puts her hand like underneath a chair leg, underneath a bit of the armor, and just sort of touches the base frame of this creature. And I think there's maybe like a little bit of like a glowing eye situation in whatever helm that it's wearing, and you see the light just like go out immediately, and it's like still for a second, and then I think she sort of like takes her hand out, and she expects that to be it. Like she's forced the spirit out. You know, that's it. It's over. You know, and she like starts to walk away, and then the lights come back, but they're a slightly different color, and it's like she's like factory rebooted it, and so now it's kind of forgot the purpose that it was given, and it's just sort of there
good,
now.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. I like it. Yeah, I'm super into that. Yeah, and I think like as you're sort of like, you know, kind of going past, you know, to the other side of this vestibule into what is essentially like a large open doorway into the Forbidden Archives proper. Darius, as you're walking by the thing, Darius, like he says, look, it has a little bookcase built into it. And he like reaches into the thing's bookcase body, that part of its body, and he pulls a book off the shelf, and he says, maybe this is the book that has the true name of the Bloodmoor family. And he like puts it in his pocket. He keeps going.
Well, since you selected it and you can't, well, you haven't done much reading, I doubt it.
The thing is following behind, and it calls to the three of you, and he says, which one of you is my maker?
I'll give Cassian a chance to try to say something as well, but otherwise Nemo will hop on that.
Oh yeah, no, Cassian will absolutely. Already like being an artificer is like, oh, that's me.
I think we say it at the same time, like, that would be me.
I have two mothers then.
No, just the one. Just you can ignore Cassian.
Cassian, are you going to get involved in this custody dispute, or?
Yes, I'm going to like launch into a. No, I'm not going to launch. I'm going to actually turn to Nima and be like, oh, if you're its mother, its maker, how does it work?
Well, obviously, there's a spirit been placed inside of this mechanical construction, and it pilots it going about life.
Yes, but how do you meld the spirit and the construction?
You just stuff it in there.
What is my purpose?
To serve me.
Yes. What is your purpose?
To find the Holy Grail.
We'll talk about that later.
All right.
And it chunk behind. And you all enter into the Forbidden Archives. That concludes Ring 1. Let's go ahead and take a 5-minute break. We'll come back and do Ring 2. You enter into a vast space. But you don't see it before you smell it. The smell is of old leather, mildew, dust. And you hear it. The creak of an opening book and the abrupt thump as it closes. A voice somewhere whispering in hushed tones, always out of sight. Nima, your rune went up, and so I owe you a condition. And that condition is there is a voice, a whispering voice, narrating all of your actions. And so, as you are entering into this large space, which I'll describe in more detail in a moment, you hear, "How interesting that the explorer did not lay claim to the mannequin, that she let the other so easily assert rights over it. Very intriguing indeed." But only you hear that, Eva. You're also at Ruin 5, which means you are now entitled to do reduction rolls very quickly. And that means so long as you betray Cassian in some way, you get to reduce your ruin. And so think about that. Ring 2, dusty layers of history, perhaps hiding a priceless artifact. You enter into a place of books, a tunnel of books, floor to ceiling. Beneath your feet, layer upon layer of loose parchment, dry and crumbling. So as you walk, it's almost like you're walking on dried leaves crumbling beneath your boots, but it's not. It's pieces of paper. Darius grabs a book from a stack, and the pages just crumble to dust. He shakes it out, fills the air with parchment powder, and he says, I have a feeling none of these books are going to be very helpful in discovering the truth of whatever we're discovering here. I wonder, though, is this the kind of thing that people will pay money for? I suppose somewhere deeper there are valuable books to scholars, that sort of thing.
I think Nemo will like grab the spine from his hands that he's from the book that dissolved on him, and she'll like hold it almost sort of lovingly and put it back on one of the shelves and say, all of the information here is priceless. And what you have just done is a travesty. Don't touch anything if you're just going to break it.
The explorer grabbed the book from the man's hand and chastised him brusquely. Is it possible there is a wedge between their little company? Who can say?
Who can say? Never mind. But Darius, stop touching delicate books.
He says, you're not the boss of me anymore. That ended when you caused our gang, many of whom were my friends, well, some of whom were my friends, at least 2 or 3 of them were my friends, to be killed. He grabs another book, and it crumbles to dust.
I find that life is easier and often more pleasant with fewer people who you owe anything to. So I've done you the favor of releasing you of those bonds. Now, pursue your own ends in a way that does not destroy generations of knowledge.
The explorer clenched her jaw, holding back a tidal wave of fury against this male idiot.
Do you have a name? Is it you
No.
who's talking, or someone else?
My creator has not given me a name yet. What is my name, mother?
What would you like to be called?
Well, I suppose I shall turn my head, and the first thing I lay my eyes upon is what you can call me.
There's nothing but old books.
I shall be called Book.
And so you shall be called Book.
And he lumbers forward. There's a great big passage of tall stacks of books. They might split off in other directions, but right now they go in one direction. What do you all do? Darius is currently lighting a torch, so just FYI.
I'm going to instruct Book to restrain Darius.
Of course.
And he goes and like Darius is like, they're like kind of they're struggling and flailing for a little bit. Darius is like batting away his coat rack arm. And he's like, we need a light source. I can't see anything in here.
You can have a light source when you behave yourself.
He sighs. But he brings up a good point. It is dark in here. There's a little bit of ambient light from outside, but as soon as someone shuts that door, that's going to go away.
What kind of equipment might we have on us?
Whatever would be helpful.
Perhaps a more restrained approach than a roaring flame on a torch. And I think Nima will reach into one of her pouches and pull out like a small candle, which she'll light. See how it doesn't drip fire all over the dusty pages on the ground?
And yet, did the explorer consider that even the smallest ember can cause the greatest conflagration?
How about we move forward? With this as a light, I'll keep my hand under it to catch any sparks, and we will continue our path lit by this meager but sufficient flame.
Cassian, why are you so sure you'll find whatever it is you're seeking when everything here so far appears to be ruined and worthless? It's all just crumbling to dust.
I think that there is a symbol that represents the Forbidden Archives that has come up again in my research. So, like, I just am certain that this is the place that we need to be. Not because anyone told me, but just because the symbology keeps appearing.
So if we were to see that symbol, you would know you're on the right track.
Yes, yeah.
That's very interesting. Nima, you are at Ruin 5. Are you thinking about doing something treacherous to get a reduction roll?
I was thinking about, because currently Darius is being restrained by Book. I was thinking of like matching pace with Book a little bit, and maybe there's like a a series of rods or something supporting one of Book's legs, and just kind of loosening those, so that Book starts to become less stable.
Oh, I see. That's very interesting. I like it. Do the reduction roll. Your rune's going to go down no matter what. What you're rolling for is to see if Cassian notices you tampering with Book. You rolled a 6. You do not go unnoticed. Wait, no. Yeah, because your current rune it's higher than your current rune. But your rune does go down. Cassian, at a certain point, when you're kind of all taking a little break in these big stacks of books, You'll notice Nima fiddling with books, like one of his leg structures, and you can see that it's causing him to be unstable. What do you do?
I'm just gonna call him. Really, really, you can't
What?
at least attack the man-child first. I was operating under the assumption that at least for a little while we had some peace until we dealt with that fucker over there.
The instability will pass. I'm really giving a tune-up.
No, you are not. You
I
know
think-
nothing about this.
I think Book falls over. Just like falls over, kind of crashes hard. And this is a problem because it causes a great big stack of books to become unstable. And now there are books falling one by one and exploding into little parchment powder bombs.
And now you've ruined the books.
And now they're avalanching. There's a big sliding stack of books about to collapse down on the four of you.
Well, we can dwell upon our mistakes
What do you all
when
do?
they're behind us.
Darius says, I think we should move, as like books are like about to crash down.
Darius, that is your first good suggestion. And
Yep.
Nemo will make a beeline for what is visible as the only exit currently.
Indeed. Cassian, I assume you were going to try to run as well.
Yes, but no, I don't want to put myself in danger. Yeah, I'll just run.
The problem
Sorry, Book.
is
I'm
Book.
leaving you there.
Book is on the ground, and Book says,
Mother, don't leave me. Mother.
I do feel bad for that robot. I will attempt to drag Book with me.
that's the risk roll. David, what could go wrong here?
I mean, Book is a big, heavy amalgam of furniture and parts. I think that he's going to slow you down too much and you're just going to get caught up in the avalanche.
That's basically my idea too. Let's talk dice. Do you have a relevant skill?
Invention. Yes, invention. I am prepared for anything, so I feel like I can loosen the load a little bit by like maybe I have like cuffs or something that are like spring loaded to help me carry heavy things.
Oh, okay, I'll take that. Yeah, I like it. That's good. I like how you described it. You got one light die and Devil's Bargains. Do you have an offer, David?
I think that no matter what, Book is going to like break up a little bit. Like you might emerge from this unscathed, but you'll only have like part of Book as opposed to the whole bit.
I second that. Like a little backpack.
A little, just the top.
Yes. All right. I would like to wear Book as a backpack if we survive this.
I think it'll just be like the little bookshelf and like one arm and his head, and that's it.
Yeah.
Okay, you've got 2 light dice, and take a dark die for risking your body. That is a 5 dark. Your ruin will go up by 1. There will be a complication. The complication is going to be that in the middle of all this, in the middle of the chaos, Darius gets ahead of all of you. If you're okay with that, you can let it ride. Actually, you have to stop because the dark is high. But go ahead and describe how you rescue part of Book, at least.
Yeah, so I think that I go back, I sigh, I go back, I start to drag Book, and it's not that he's too heavy. I think it's so much that like the already kind of loosened leg, the fact that he was bad, and now the books are like on it and they're like crushed. I just can't dislodge him and he can't help. So I think that honestly, I think I'm just gonna chop off the bottom half of book, like on purpose, and drag him out. I assume he can't feel anything.
No, he's
I hope he
fine.
can't feel anything.
No, I think he's okay. Meanwhile, Nima, the explorer's treachery nearly worked. Her rival was almost crushed by the stack of books. And yet, her rival appears from the cloud of parchment dust. Her foundling child dragged behind her. What will the explorer do? And what will she do when she discovers that the knave in their company has already gone much deeper into the archive, and indeed may find the treasure that they seek? And indeed, Darius is nowhere around. Cassian, did your ruin go up? You were getting a condition as well. And I think your condition is going to be you can start to see glimpses of the archive's true form. And I will ask you now what that looks like. How can you tell, briefly, what do you notice or experience that makes you think that the archive itself is alive, is a creature that you are in the belly of?
I think that as I was sort of faced with that avalanche coming down, as I was pulling a book out, all of those books that were attacking us weren't inanimate objects, but rather they were like teeth, like it was trying to grab and pull and eat.
Nice. Good. I like it. I think we need to have the scene with just the two of you there after this moment of treachery, which led to quite a bit of danger. Please role play.
I think Nima is standing there. She's set the candle down on its little rest, and she's just kind of got her head in her hands. I will admit that did not go as I planned.
Yes, your calculated risk seemed actually somewhat quite incalculated.
Well, perhaps it was my own lack of knowledge of machinery that failed me here. I will recognize that. But what I see now is an opportunity for us to strike a new agreement, much like our one back in the town. Or at least make formal what we've discussed. I don't think either of us is amenable to Darius finding his way to our family's name first. At least until his insolence has been disposed of, perhaps we could call this like it is, a partnership for a time.
Well, perhaps it was my mistake for assuming we were already operating under that.
I think the competition got the best of me. It takes a lot to admit my fault in this matter at all. So please recognize that for the olive branch that it is.
I don't like it when you two fight.
And
You
we
have
appear to
ruined
be
the child, you know that.
bothering the child. Well, you're the one who cut him, I'll say. But I will be the bigger woman. Yes, my actions did lead to an unfortunate circumstance wherein our mutual son, I guess, was wounded. Yes, I'm sorry for my part in that book.
You were only trying to make a needed repair. It's not your fault.
Yeah. Yes, honey. It's
All
better
right.
if you think that.
So we shall move forward with our formal agreement in place.
Formal.
The man-child must go,
He must.
and this child should no longer be harmed intentionally.
I accept those terms. And once the man-child has been dealt with and we've arrived at our secret, I propose a formal bout between the two of us to determine who is deserving. Details of the bout can be determined once we arrive there. Perhaps circumstances will change by then, but I think we both know it's going to come to some kind of blows between us. I'd rather that be under some kind of formality as opposed to something raw.
I accept this. Betrayal is very distasteful.
Why betray unknown when you can just know that they will come to conflict at some point?
The explorer managed to strike an impressive bargain given their scurrilous behavior.
Are you... Is there someone talking to you here?
Yes, you are talking to me.
I can opine on many subjects.
Fair enough. Let's go find that whelp and deal him his end if he has managed to get ahead of us very far.
Indeed, you see up ahead this long kind of like tall passage of books, much of which is collapsed now. You see Darius holding up a book by its covers and shaking it, and the pages are not crumbling to dust. And he closes it. And he calls back to the two of you. Funny thing, I found a book. The front cover matches the sigil on our rings. I suppose this probably has some very, very helpful information in it. I think the two of you should sit with the fact that you have treated me so poorly during this entire adventure. And perhaps, if you'd like to be nicer to me in the future, I would be willing to share with you the no doubt priceless and indeed acutely important knowledge contained within its covers.
I can't see the book from here. Do you think he's joking?
No, I do think he has found a book. I do think it probably has something to do with our family. It's very old. I do think he's an idiot for thinking he would find a book that helpful this early.
I shall go ahead and put it in my rucksack for now, and whenever one of you wants to make copious apologies, I will perhaps let you peruse it.
Luck is never granted to the deserving.
That's fine. We'll take his pack once he's dead.
The explorer bit her lower lip, furious that such a buffoon should have perhaps found the fabulous treasure that she had spent so many months planning and preparing to find herself.
Does nobody else really hear that?
There's just, in the distance, you hear a persistent rustling of pages. Somewhere in the distance, quills scratching on parchment.
The quills. No one else hears the quills. Perhaps we should head that way.
Sure. I'll follow you.
And so you're eventually going to exit this tunnel of old books. But Cassian, tell me again, what new subtle sign do you see that the archive is alive?
I think that just along the shadows, just where the light from the candle tapers off, what looks like books kind of move on their own, but they're actually not books. They're like creatures that just appear to be like books, sort of like moving, skittering along the ground.
Make a ruin roll. You got a 2, so your ruin doesn't go up. What are you thinking, though, as you start to realize the truth of this place?
I think that in order to get what I want, I'm going to need to feed it.
Between Darius and Nima, who's seeming like the better offering right now?
At this exact moment, Darius, because he annoys me, but I think that Nima is the bigger threat, so.
Indeed. Nima, what do you hope to accomplish should you be the person to come into control of the Bloodmoor estate?
I don't think she has any grand designs for it. I think it's just, I think she's like by birth she's fairly low in the family, and despite the fact that she has myriad talents that make her very successful in her occupation as a demonologist. And I think she just wants it for the recognition. Like this is for her to take her place in her family, since she's never really been given one. And the rest is just, what comes after.
Nice. I like it. You all continue towards the end of this book tunnel into what appears to be a fairly well illuminated opening. In fact, in the distance, you can see strange lights flickering in mesmerizing sequences that must mean something. And perhaps to give further emphasis to Cassian's observations about this place, behind you, you hear what sounds like bats taking flight. But it's not. It's books flapping their covers, swirling behind you, creating a thick, impenetrable cloud of parchment dust. There is no way to go back. There is only forward. And that concludes Ring 2. And that'll conclude our session for today. Let's do a quick stars and wishes. I'll start. I really had a good time, and people watching the video don't know this, but we decided to play this like really last minute because of a scheduling thing, and so the three of us just sort of dived into it without much prep, and I thought it went off okay. I really liked it, and I like the tone of it too. It's much more like some of these incursions are much more like lighter and like light fantasy kind of, your high fantasy kind of tone, and I was really enjoying that aspect of this a lot.
I really like how the accident of Alicia and I both selecting the same drive resulted in what I think is like it's a really nice. It results in a nice tight dynamic for a little one shot like this. Having that shared conflict from the outset, I just really like how that's manifested as we've moved into the story.
Yeah, it's really driving a lot of the drama. I think it's good. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I also feel like so much of it is coming out of like all these kind of like sort of failures and complications, right? Failing forward into these great moments in the story, which I really love. And I also think the other thing that's helping drive it is just starts for like the three of us having been playing together for a while and just being able to like do whatever and know that someone's going to be there to pick it up, and having that trust, especially as we didn't do cats, right? And we didn't do like our lines and veils and stuff like that, but like I think it's working really well and I really like that. So stars for playing together for a long time, I guess.
I really enjoyed I think Darius and Book add a really fun dynamic to, and the narrator too. It's like you're like a party of 5 or 6, five. And so that's really enjoyable. I'm liking that. I'm liking the dynamic that it adds to the story.
I wasn't expecting a narrator. That's been a hugely entertaining addition. I'm assuming that's part of the incursion.
It's one of the conditions you can get.
Yeah.
I also really like the tension that's bubbling under again, almost in a way because we have played Trophy before, of like knowing what happened the last time we played Trophy and being set up directly for David and I to come into that conflict again gives this so much more weight for me as well, because I'm like, I'm not gonna die this time. Damn it, I could be the victor.
Weirdly enough, with that one, I was just kind of like open to see where it led, and then it happened to lead to a very bloody place that resulted well for no one, if I remember correctly, really in the end. But this time, I feel like my wish for where this goes, I almost want it to start from a place of like very overt, very clear conflict, and I kind of want to see it get to a place where like we almost get to a begrudging respect for each other and maybe try to forge a different future. I don't know. We'll see where we go.
Okay, that's interesting, because I was definitely like, I wonder, it doesn't feel very Trophy dark, but I wonder if we can subvert it somehow and like share the name or whatever.
Yeah,
Darius to die though.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay,
I feel like the funny introduction of Darius as a that was a what's the word? A devil's bargain.
The devil's bargain.
Yeah, so that was a result of a devil's bargain. Introducing the third party has completely changed the dynamic for Nima and Cassian in a really interesting way. So I really like that. Yeah, it's strange because like from the outset for this one, I was like, oh yeah, like we're just gonna like duke it out the whole time, and then like eventually one of us is gonna get somewhere or not. And this time I'm like, I kind of want to subvert that. I kind of want us to start there, and then the development is to maybe get past that. Maybe we'll see how the story goes.
Yeah.
I love the because I've been kind of like playing it up, this idea of like book and his 2 moms, and this sort of like, this kind of like, like family on the verge of divorce, like dynamics that are kind of going on. I really love that. I also, it was a star for that moment where you rescued Book, because I thought you were going to originally leave him there, and you might have, but that would have been an interesting result too if you had left Book. But I thought it was interesting that you went back. So
I will admit that my thinking process was entirely, and the only reason I also wanted Book besides sort of being an artificer, is that I didn't love the idea that Darius might have more loyalty to Nima than to me, because, being the lieutenant. So I was like, well, I gotta have someone on my side. Just in case.
I wish, I'll be curious just kind of how it ends. I've run this incursion like maybe 1 or 2 other times, and it is always like kind of a lighter, more like high adventurous kind of like incursion, and they can't all be grim horror fests, I guess. So I kind of know where it goes, and I know kind of how it sort of where the story kind of goes, but we've introduced some really interesting dynamics, so I'm just like really curious to see how that all kind of plays out. I am very curious to see like if you all are competing at the end or not. I think that'll be very intriguing. So any other stars or wishes?
The other star I realized I wanted to mention was, um, I love Jason. I loved your decision to have Book fall and like sort of start this collapse, because there there wasn't actually a failure really there. It was just sort of like there was an opening to make the scene more interesting.
Mhm.
And I don't know, I just really loved how you took that and made a situation that was
Well, so
compelling to
just
interact
as a
with.
kind of like, just as, because this might be interesting for people who
Mhm.
are running Trophy Dark or thinking about running it. The incursion does call for a book collapse that is supposed to happen in Ring 2. I just took the opening of
Yeah.
of that to make it happen. So it would have happened no matter what, but I liked the opening that you gave me. So yeah. And
Well,
that
by
dynamic in the play is what Trophy Dark's all about, right? So
yeah, and by making the decision that way, it then created the conflict of like what happens to Book, because Book fell and that's what started it. And so like now Book is on the ground, obviously cannot run. It's just, yeah, I really liked how that
I think
played
what I
out.
love about this game so much is the incursion like has like, it's got a point A, it's got a point B, it's got like things that happen, it's got questions to pose, it's got lots of details, but the story is so unique to the group because of Devil's Bargains and things. And so Darius and the Guardian are not, or Book is, that's not something that like the Guardian is in the incursion, but he's just like a sort of doddering, easy to overcome enemy. He's not meant to be like a member of the party. And so like it's kind of fun that that's how it kind of, that the mechanics like kind of change the story so much like that. But you're still like in this space that functions a certain way at certain points, but like the story is like really quite unique, which is why you can play them over and over, So I think it's really fun. Just that how the gameplay dynamic is really cool.
Yeah.
Any other stars or wishes?
My wish is just to see Darius be brutally murdered.
Indeed. All right. Well, in that case, thank you all so much. I'm going to wave goodbye to people watching the video.